Francisco, I think Nia is hungry.
We already gave them.
Okay, she's right behind you. She wants more. All right. Good morning, Emmer. Welcome back. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Hi. All right. So I'm having a lot of fun translating. There's something weird that's going on. I thought I'd like translation, but now I'm kind of like I'm actually like really enjoying it. Like I'm like, I'd rather do this than other things. It's kind of a weird karma that's taking shape here. So thank you all for joining and giving me the opportunity to translate more. So it's really cool that, I wouldn't be doing this if people weren't interested, and I think to me, it's an inspiration that people want to learn and are interested in these kinds of things. And so it kind of, I don't know, it motivates me more to do it because other people are interested. So we're going to get moving, get back to where we started and say, where were we? Okay, that's where we were. Okay. Okay, sorry, I'm just getting my notes up here to make sure I'm in the right place. Okay. So where we were in the last verse, we were talking about the power that emptiness has. We were talking about what is it that, what can even just a little bit of understanding of emptiness do for us? And even more powerfully, it was, they were quoting the 400 verses, and it said that those people of little capacity don't, how to say, of little capacity can't generate even a doubt in their mind about where things come from. Right. Which is actually kind of a sad thing to hear. Because I don't think, it feels, I don't know. On one hand, it's supposed to make you feel special, I think. It's supposed to make you feel like, yeah, I'm special. I'm understanding this, even just a little bit. So I think the idea behind it really is more as a something to motivate you, not to judge but it's not a judgment of other people because you really don't know who other people are anyway. So in this, it's like, I don't think we're judging other people. Like if we really judge other people, then it would just sound like an impossibility, right? It's like, oh, people of little capacity, we can't help. And that's not what's being said. But what's being said in the next line is even just a tiny little bit of doubt that someone could generate of where the world's coming from. A little doubt that maybe what they're seeing has anything to do with how they treat other people. Just a little bit of doubt, just this little seed of doubt. And they say is enough good karma, good kelwa, virtue to be able to tear the fabric of samsara, right? To actually rip that fabric, the fabric that holds that reality together. If you're able to rip that, right? And it's the doubt that maybe, even just maybe, even if just for a moment, that sets off a whole chain reaction of good karma to be able to end, be able to end all the suffering that there is. How long depends. We're not talking about time, but what we're talking about is just that little bit. And if you could imagine you as a teacher being able to just generate a sliver of doubt, right? Just a slight crack. Like, if you own a house and you have a driveway, you know that the driveway, the concrete starts drying, but it dries over 10 to 20 years, right? And eventually it dries enough that the water evaporates from it, and then you start getting little hairline cracks in it, right? And then eventually that driveway starts falling apart, and then you have to replace it because it wears away and all those normal changing things. But when you first start seeing the crack in the driveway, it's not like, oh my God, this driveway is not going to work anymore, right? You're not like, you're still parking your car on the driveway, right? But if you can create just a hairline crack of doubt, which is the doubt of where things are coming from for somebody else, you're helping them tremendously. Because once you start it, what they're saying is once you start it, it doesn't stop. Could take quite a while, but that's kind of the goal. So maybe what the Buddha is saying here is, it's not that you should give up on others, is you should double down on your efforts and try harder. So that's where we left it. All right. Oops. Now, this next paragraph is incredibly beautiful, and it might take the whole class to get through it. I don't know. But let's see what happens, because it's really, in my opinion, it's really good. There we go. And it's a longer paragraph, and it kind of all has to go together. So let's see here. Who's first in the pictures? Let's see. My picture, we got Francisco. You get the lucky draw in my pictures.
Thank you for the longest paragraph.
You're quite welcome.
Dina,
Hey,
di,
Dana.
Dena, di lang, tola, at gopa,
Go pay.
gope, sunraki, ngapi,
Chin.
chi,
Hey, chin.
ngachi, chima,
Correct.
pa, meipe, ske budapa, laten, ne tongi, Ongeki Nangpa Topa Songong Skrip
Soak. Soak,
Sok
soak. Soak,
Sok
soak.
Sok Sok
Mhm.
Skrip Yong
Mhm.
Jepa Blama Jidam Jermet Du Jane
Che.
Je
Nay. Yeah,
Jane
nice.
Sopa Dapa Sokta Ba Nam Da Yu Laki Pei Ji Tong Nat Sang To
You soak.
Yut Sok. Nam
Nice. All right. So the reason this paragraph has to be this long is because the verb is at the end. Like, this part refers back to the beginning. So we need to kind of clump it all together. Okay. So from all of that before, right? So in order to realize what's before and able to realize emptiness, right? We have to gather together we have to gather together things, right? Which is possible to do it. What are the things that we have to gather together? Going to the end of the paragraph. We have to gather together the causes, the all of the causes which bring about realizing emptiness and correct view. All right. So what are those things? So this is where we go off on a little tangent. We're going to go off on a trip here and just stick with me. What are the causes to have the experience of emptiness? What things and seeds do you need to do to get ready for that experience? And there's 3 things that Pabonka Rinpoche mentions here. And I would say those 3 things relate to one of the 5 primary causes to see emptiness directly. Okay. And so, but Pabonka is saying, look, if you do these 3, the other ones, we might find more later on. But he's giving us the 3 most important things to do to be able to see emptiness directly. So what are those things, right? So the first thing is we have to rely upon 10, rely upon. Dampa means holy. And so a holy person, Kebu, someone who appears as a person. Okay, that's how I would translate it. Someone who appears as a holy person, right? Because it's your seeds that making them appear that way, right? Who's also a master, a Kenpa. All right. So you're relying upon a wise and holy teacher. Okay. Who knows all the important instructions, the critical, the crucial, the nay of it, the crucial instructions of the teachings, meaning the Buddha's teachings, right? You need to find someone who knows, and you rely upon someone who knows those things, right? Which makes sense. You don't go to a piano teacher to learn about emptiness. You go to a piano teacher to learn how to play the piano, right? I mean, you could learn emptiness from them if your view was really good. But typically you want to go to someone who understands, like someone who understands emptiness, right? And understands how to do it and has learned how to do it, or at least appears that they have learned how to do it. And they know enough about emptiness, which would be more than your understanding of emptiness. Okay. So not only do they know all of those things, right? But they also teach it, right? It's not enough just to go to someone who knows. You also have to go to someone who teaches it. They teach everything they know about emptiness, right? So it's an interesting distinction. It's not just go to someone who knows. Like if you try to go, if you go to the concert hall and you hear, and you're just swept away. I don't know. I'm thinking of the opening to Rachmaninoff's first piano concerto. Okay. For example, and you're just swept away by the intensity and beauty of the pianist's capacity to take you somewhere musically. And you're like, I want to learn how to do that. And then all of a sudden you find out that person's not a teacher. They can't teach you, right? They're not teaching you is different than knowing how to do it. Right. And that's okay, right? You can be a completely realized being and also not appear as a teacher. Right. But in this case, it's like you want to find someone who's done it or is pretty close to doing it or seems to know what the heck they're talking about. They seem to know, and not what they know from their words that they say, but how they live, right? Like, do they live a life where it looks like they're applying karma and emptiness, right? Does it look like it, right? It's not just what the words they say, but is there a congruency between the words they say and the life they live? And then you got to be careful how you judge that too. All these things. It's not a one-to-one thing. It's not always black and white. And your seeds will force you to see what your seeds force you to see anyway. And then you need to find someone who can teach it to you, right? In your language, in the way you understand. That's why finding what they call the heart teacher is so incredibly important. Just because someone's a big teacher or your friend studies with them doesn't mean that that person is the right teacher for you. Like the teacher should fit like a really comfortable glove, right? It should just, like imagine putting, I'm not going to go there. And it should be a fit for you. Like if you're ever trying to buy jeans, you know that it's nearly impossible to find jeans that fit your body type, right? And so you got to try on like 30 pairs of jeans. And just because the same brand has the same size next time, doesn't mean that size is going to fit you, right? You got to try them on again. You got to keep trying them on. But once you've tried it on and you know it fits, just go with it, right? And I hesitate to say this word strongly, but then just surrender to it, right? I have some friends who've been with their teacher for 15 years ish. And they started with the teacher when they were just out of college, right? And they're wildly successful now. And I would say there's a little bit of jealousy from me because I don't see the same success in the same way, right? Of course, if I really look at it, like the jealousy goes away pretty quickly. And I was talking with some other friends about like, what am I really jealous about? What am I like, what's my beef? Like, what's the beef, right? That's an expression, translators. Like, what's my issue? And I realized instead of comparing myself to other people, and instead of being like, oh, they're more successful than me, than you, all of those things. Listen to your mind and how ridiculous it gets. I realized that in the back of my own mind, I always had a plan B. I was like, if this doesn't work out, or if this job doesn't work out, or et cetera, then I always have these other options, right? And I was like, what? And these people that I'm slightly jealous of at times, they don't have a plan B. They just rely on they just rely on the teachings, right? They don't have a plan B. And they've done what their teacher has said, and they're wildly successful. And they have gone through major purifications. If you get on this path, and I'm sorry to tell you the truth is it will be difficult at times. You will have to wrestle with things that you never wanted to wrestle with in your entire life, and things that you thought you were done with as well. Okay. The rewards on the other side are tremendous. And I can tell you that part too. And you need to understand that, like, to really get at the depths of this, you need a teacher. You need someone who can explain to you how to navigate the things that happen. And it's a beautiful relationship to have. And it's a dangerous relationship too. It's a tenuous relationship. It's not an easy one. Someone asked Geshe Michael once, they were like, oh, I think this other ACI teacher is my teacher. It's like, should I ask them to be my teacher? And Geshe Michael said, sure, but just know it's going to be the most difficult thing you've ever done in your life. Next, like, get out of here, right? And then really it is. It's something that, and the rewards are tremendous. And by relying upon them, you have to understand what that also means too. Like, do you give up your agency? Do you give up your capacity to think for yourself? Do they have to tell you everything to do? That's not what it means either. Like, you're not, like, when you're with your teacher, you're not like a trained dog that follows the teacher around. Now, do you want to emulate your teacher? Probably. Do you want to learn what they do? Probably. So if you want to learn that, you probably need to be close to them in some way as much as you can. But the teacher's not going to make decisions for you. You know, you have to make those decisions yourself. You have to work out the karma for things. You have to figure out based on the teachings that they give you. Because at the end of the day, nobody else can really do it for you. And there'll be times that you fail. There'll be times when you have to get picked up off the ground, crying in a corner in a little puddle of your own tears. And don't worry about it. You know, it's normal. But just pick yourself back up, right? You know, and be like, well, that's what that was today, and let's move on. What's next? What's next? Right? So there's this balance of relying upon a teacher that also reflects their desire for you to reach those goals, and their desire for you to do that oftentimes looks like that they're not helping you. Oftentimes can look like that because they're not helping you in the way you want to be helped. They're helping you in the way that they know is the best way and fastest way to help you. Right? You know, and I've been pissed with my Lama at times and frustrated, and not at them, but just frustrated at the situation. Don't get mad at your teacher. That's a terrible karma. You can be mad at the situation, right? And you can be mad that this seed arose and you're forced to see it this way, and you can dislike it, but don't get mad at the teacher. The karma for that is incredibly heavy. And it's what's going to will push the teacher away from you. All right. Second thing to worry about, to rely upon. Sok sok drip jong chepa. All right. This one's a little bit easier. Not really. But this is basically doing your practices, doing things chepa, which are methods to both collect good karma, collecting together good karma, and then also purifying bad karma. All right. So you're doing all the things to bring about an enormous change in your life by doing the good deeds. How do you know which are the good deeds? I don't know. Look at the Bodhisattva vows. Look at the Vinaya vows. They will tell you what to start doing, start taking up, and then stop taking up. Right? Those are your guides. Those are your teacher, right? If you have the vows, like, you don't need to ask your teacher what to do. Just look at the Bodhisattva vows. Sometimes you need to ask him what to do, or how to look at a situation to be able to decide what to do. But at the end of the day, you're the one who knows what karma you're planting, whether it's good or bad, right? So the first thing is we need to amass a tremendous amount of good karma, period, right? Like collecting good karma by volunteering for ACI projects, right? Helping organizations and people teach the wisdom. And if you are volunteering, you better be coffee meditating every day. In fact, don't just listen to the advice of coffee meditating at night. Do it all day long. Get in the shower and coffee meditate. Brush your teeth and coffee meditate. Have lunch and coffee meditate. Like, rejoice in all the goodness that you're doing and the goodness that you do already have. Like, don't limit it to one time a day. That's dumb. It's helpful to begin your practice that way, but it's but as you get more and more advanced, like, do it 10 times a day, do it every other moment. Like, there's no rule, like, only do it at night. It's good to do it at night, and there's a reason why we do it at night, but do it during the day too. And then secondly is purifying your negative karmas, right? You have no idea what's going to ripen. No idea what's going to ripen. You could be having the best practice and you could be having the most magical things happen. And then bam, something like the anvil falls on your head, like in the cartoon, right? With the roadrunner and the coyote. Boom. And the anvil just falls on your head, right? And your world gets turned upside down. Right? Like, hopefully you have enough practice in place to be able to navigate it. But having something bad happen doesn't mean that you're a bad person or that you're not a good enough practitioner. If you've been practicing for a while and you haven't had a disaster in a long time, congratulations. Like, you should rejoice that you're not having a disaster. But when a disaster does come, it's like, thank God, thank you, I can finally purify this. Because if you navigate yourself through that disaster in a very good way, you won't replant it. You won't. Right? And it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And it doesn't mean it's going to be, you know, joyful and blissful. But if you can cultivate a little bit of that of joy and bliss while you're navigating disaster, you can certainly change it a lot faster, and you can purify it a lot quicker. Last year, my teacher asked me to fill out an evaluation form, and some of the people from ACI got it. About like, what is your greatest achievement of the year? What is the biggest challenge you had, and things like that. I wrote like 10 pages. I was so excited. And so we sat down and we were talking about it, and he read the first question, and then he sat back and said, your greatest achievement this year was how you handled disaster. I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And had a major shift last year. The hotel that I was running, that was number one in the country for its class, super high end place. We were making lots of money. We were doing just fine. I got fired. Got fired from the job for doing a good job. What? Like, they made no sense, right? And like, all of these things in my life unraveled one by one. It just wasn't one thing that happened. It was a series of disasters. And I usually, when things are going sideways, I typically don't talk about it very much. I have my support networks, but I typically don't go there because I don't want to reinforce what's going on. Right. And he said, look, your greatest achievement was that you didn't fail at your failure. Right? We will all experience failures, but do you fail in failure? It's like, you could have easily just left. You could have just quit, right? And oftentimes that's what happens to people. Their negative karma gets so powerful and ripens so quickly that they lose faith in the path. And then that's the and they don't recognize that is the path. Like, the disaster is the path. And then what oftentimes happens is because they've planted such good karma beforehand, once they move out of the disaster and into something else, then they become wildly successful in worldly things because they have done all that good karma. They've had years and years and years of service. And then they took themselves out of the fire and then put themselves on a nice, cozy beach resort, right? And then all of a sudden, like other good karmas ripen because they stopped the battle. And then their good karmas ripen and they're like, wow, everything's wonderful. And we should celebrate all of that, right? But then they gave up their practice, and those goodnesses will have to come to an end as well in their own time. So I think that's the message here is just keep going, right? And if it gets too difficult, you need support. You need other people. Like I had a whole network of people supporting me when it got nasty, you know. But most of the time I was like, this is just what's appearing. This sucks. This hurts, all these things going on. But then sticking through it, and then what happens on the other side, you see. Okay, so that's the second point. Yeah, I told you this paragraph is going to take the whole class. Third part, the third point, okay? We need to Solwandeb. Does anyone know what this means? Solwandeb? Solwandeb in this case. We need to ask for help and support of our teacher. It's not just enough to like put yourself by their side and learn from them. You need to ask for support. Like, what does that support look like? Please help me. Please take care of me. Right? In all the ways we talked about previously, like how can they support and help you? How will they help you? Right? And you need that support. You need someone who can look into you and say, okay, these are the seeds you need to plant. And I understand it's really effing difficult for you right now. But just keep going. I got you. One of my teachers last year, like, took me out to dinner and, he was like, you do realize you're having an entire meltdown. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm good. Which is my typical behavior. Like, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. And then like 2 minutes later, after being asked how I am, then all of a sudden the emotions fly out, right? Especially if they just wait. Like, oh yeah, you're fine, Tim. Yeah, you're fine. And then 2 minutes later, the emotion comes out, right? Geshe Michael took me out to lunch a couple times, and he asked questions. I had to whine about my story, right? Knowing that my story was self-existent, and and he listened, but then provided advices. And the main advice that he provided, which I'm going to send to you all, is that do your best to not think about it anymore. The disaster happened or is happening. Get your mind somewhere else, because the more you keep your mind in it, the more you're replanting it. It doesn't mean you're denying the fact that it's happening. Like, we don't ignore the disasters. They're happening, right? But get your mind out of, don't think about it anymore. And I looked at him and he literally, he didn't say, try not to. He said, don't think about it. And I was like, that's not possible. And he said, that's why I'm telling you to do it this way. Don't think about it, right? Because I know you're going to. But then maybe at one point you'll remember not to think about it, right? Ask for help. And they'll probably tell you the same thing. Don't think about it. Go find yourself another ACI project. There's a reason why in our lineage, we don't do 100,000 prostrations to purify ourselves. We do projects. We get together and we do things for people, and we burn off all of our negative emotions while we're doing them. And if you have a good teacher, they will put you with other people who will fire up your negative emotions. Oh, it'd be really great if you worked with this person, Francisco. Well, it'd be really great if you did that project, right? Knowing full well that it will bring out every other affliction. And then you'll get mad at the people and you'll get upset. And then someday you will probably realize that the teacher was doing you a kindness and set you up. They set you up to purify. So when you ask for help, you better damn well be ready for the help that they give you, because they don't want to waste your time. They don't want you wasting your time at all. They want you to get rid of the crap so you can come out into a paradise. Right? And if they don't do that for you, then I don't know. I'm not going to judge other teachers. That's half of this answer. Okay. The first half of this is requesting help and support from a teacher. Now, this is what I love about this LAM RIM. Okay. This is what gets me super like turned on when I read it. Okay. All of a sudden, Babonka goes, yeah, request support and help from your teacher, who, by the way, is not separate from your Lama Yidam, which is your highest diamond way angel. Okay. Your teacher is not separate from, I don't like using these words because it makes it sound self-existent. They're not separate from a tantric deity. They are not separate from Vajradhara. They are not separate from Yamantaka. They're not separate from Tara, or they're not separate from Vajragini. Whichever one, whatever image of that perfected Buddha you like, because you're attracted to that, your teacher is inseparable. You are one in this, they are one in the same with that being, your Lama Yidam. Oh, Tim, how are they one in the same? Who makes them one in the same? And why should you make them one in the same? There is no Buddha, angel, tantric deity, enlightened being out there that's not coming from you. Okay. Neither is your teacher. The teacher who appears to you as a kebu. Where is that? Up here. DTT. Okay. Also could appear as the highest tantric angel diamond way being who can lead you to the final goals. Why? Because seeds. Okay. Because it's your conception of who they are. You can, if you were to conceive of somebody differently, even if it's a shift of mental image in your mind, or even suspect for one hot second that maybe they are that enlightened being, whether they are Vajragini or Yamantaka or Chakrasambhara or Tara, Vajradhara. If you suspect it, you're changing the mental image in your mind, and therefore you're changing the seeds that you're planting when you're serving them. So are they self-existently your highest diamond way angel? No. Are they a teacher who knows self-existently all the crucial points of the path? No. Are they one and the same as a person and that angel? No. From their own side. But if you see them that way and you try to conceive them as the same thing, then you're playing a whole different game. Then you're playing major leagues, right? This one little line, how many words is it? Lama Yidam Yerme. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. 6 syllables. Lama, 1 word. Yidam, 2. Yerme. So 4 words. Okay. 4 concepts. Right. So you're asking help, and who are you asking help from? Are you asking help from a normal person, or are you asking help from a enlightened being? Which one is it? Hmm. Which one is it? How can they be both? Dang it. I can't find a pen. They're the same, just like a pen and a chew toy. There's no difference. There's no difference. You see them as a person, you see them as a tantric angel, depending on who's looking, or it depends how you're looking. And if you could change that conception, you can speed up this path so incredibly quickly, and you can purify a lot of things very, very fast, holding on to that conception. All right. Thanks, Pabonka. Let's go to the next line. Wow, this is an easy line. Let's give this, let's see, who wants an easy read? Mm-hmm. Janine, are you translating? Here, you got the karma to have an easy line.
Dedakma Sangna Thongmin Nu.
Pabonka finishes this whole discussion by saying, if we do not have these necessary causes, the three that we just mentioned, right? Relying upon someone who knows all the steps and can teach them. You collecting all the good karma, amassing amounts, tremendous amounts of good karma, which many of you know how to do that. And the more techniques you have, the greater it becomes. And then purifying all of your negative things inside of you, which is mainly purifying your ignorance. And asking them for help and support when you need it, and conceiving them as one and the same with whatever enlightened Buddha turns you on the most. Okay. If you have those three things in place, if you do not have those three things, talk menu. The realization of the correct view will not be possible. Sorry that I dropped the bomb on you, but that's what you need to get there. Okay. So if you don't like it, call complaints and we'll forward it on to Pabonka Rinpoche. Last thing I wanted to say about this, because it's important. Like a lot of people are like, well, which tantric deity should I practice? Should I do Manjushri? Should I do Maitreya? Should I do Tara? Should I do Vajragini? Should I do Chakrasamvara? Should I do Haruka? Should I do Yamantaka? Which one? Vajradhara. Which one should I do? Right? Because there's lots. And people go collecting initiations all the time. They collect them like playing cards, like Pokemon. Let's go get the next Pokemon. Let's go to this Rinpoche's initiation. Right? Let's go do this. Let's go do that. How do you decide? There's so many, right? Even in our lineage, we do several, right? We do a father tantra and we do a mother tantra. We do a Yamantaka and a Vajragini. Okay, but which one of the two do you do? Which one? How do you choose? I have a better answer than the ones that are coming. They're close. They're kind of close. Oh yeah, I forgot Medicine Buddha too. Okay. Your seeds choose. Well, yes. The main thing is if you find the teacher who is the perfect club for you, all you need is to practice what they give you to practice. You don't have to make a choice. Your teacher helps you with that. Right? You do the practice that your teacher does because that's the teacher you have. Like it's so logical, it's kind of dumb, right? Like you just do what your teacher does and then do what your teacher teaches you. Right? If your teacher teaches you Medicine Buddha and that's like working for you, then you do Medicine Buddha. If they're teaching you Mantaka, then you do Mantaka. If they teach you Vajragini, you do Vajragini. Right? Well, which one do I do? Like, do I do Yamantaka or Vajragini, Tim? Oh, that's a different question. What if I teach you both? All right. And if you feel conflict, why do you feel conflict between the two? Where is that coming from? You see, that's the level you have to get at to make all these things actually work. Actually work. Okay. There is no self-existent Vajragini practice. The Tantra is not in the practice. Excuse me, the Tantra is not in the words. The Tantra is not in the initiation. The Tantra is not in the teacher. And if you've thought it was, you misunderstand it and it won't work for you. I think we're having a sutra class. Let's go back. Okay. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to get on to a whole new topic, which is really cool. And we'll just get started today. Let's see here. Who wants to read? Sana, how about this next paragraph?
Thank you. Ha, cha, u, g,
Chup.
chup, nai, nga,
Ah, here, I'll help you. It gets pronounced like this. Oops.
ma,
Right.
va, ma, va, g, so, nai, ta, bai,
Ta way.
vei,
So, yes.
jo, sam, nang, sei, mi, nung, pa,
Tung.
tung, pa, mang, yang, cho, vo, na,
So just for
ni,
for everybody's edification here,
ni.
ni. So this is most likely a type. This is probably a problem in the carving, or the typist made an error. So the word should be ni and not na. So I need to check the carving on this to make sure
Ni.
it's ni. Okay, continue on.
Uh, Vu.
Ooh,
Ma. Tal. Ju.
Tangyur.
Tangyur. Vai. Ta. Ba. Te.
Nice, good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's your second or third time, and it's getting better. All right, cool. Okay. All right, so there are many, okay, there's many points of view or systems here, right? Drupta that are spoken about. There are many points of view that are spoken about in Pakyul. Where's Pakyul? Yul means land. Pak means Arya. So the land of the Aryas. Where's that? I mean, it could be right down the street from you, of course, right? It could be Rimrock. But in this case, it's India. Okay. All right. Could be Rimrock. There could be an Arya in Rimrock. That'd be cool. All right. So in India, there's many, many systems, druptas, that are spoken about. How many are there? She, right? There's four individual shisoso. There's four individual systems, or we'll call them primary schools of Buddhist thought in India, right? And each of which considers their perspective the correct view. Okay. They each believe they each create their own perspective. They all believe that they're correct. That sounds like human beings. I'm right. Right? All humans are right. So we have four schools, each of which considers their point correct. And each of these is as, I think that's what this means. Hold on, I gotta look. My brain pooped. Hold on a second. Right. That's what. Right. Okay. And each of those points of view are as divergent, nang se, as they are discordant, mitunpa. Right. They're diverse, and they're discordant from each other. All right. Which is kind of a cool way of looking at it. Like they're completely different from each other. All right. So, however, so the root one, the principal one, ni is, okay? The principal one, the most important one nonetheless, is the Uma Tangyurwa, okay? The consequence section of the middle way school. All right. Tangyur means consequence, Uma means middle way. There are two sections in the middle way. There's lower middle way and upper middle way. The lower middle way, the branch is called the my God, my brain stopped. Does someone else have it in their head? The independent school. Thank you. Yes, thank you. It's the independent branch of the middle way. And then the implication or consequence section of the middle way. So the lower middle way is considered one school. The upper middle way has the most important viewpoint, the Sowo. All right, now we're going to go on a little trip, and we're not going to finish today. We're going to go on a little trip about each of those schools. All right. So first we're going to learn about the middle way school. Let's see here. Marina, can you read, please?
Teni ton paten chung giton ton ten chung ton peton tu shepa shikla cha.
Jay. Nice. Okay. So from there, right? The consequence section of the middle way explains uniquely, right? Explains uniquely 2 points. The first point is that emptiness, tongpa, is the whole point of dependence or the meaning of dependence. Emptiness is the meaning of dependence. Tenjung is dependent origination. Dun is meaning, right? So one side of it, it presents that emptiness is the whole point of dependence. And dependence, tenjung, is the whole point of emptiness. The two sides are coming together, two sides of the same coin. Emptiness depends upon dependent origination, and dependent origination depends upon emptiness. Those two things together. Emptiness is only meaningful in dependence, and dependence is only meaningful in emptiness. And that goes incredibly deep, and that's what the rest of the chapter is all about. Okay. So that's what we're going to be studying for the next year or so. I want to get through this next paragraph here. Okay. We're gonna get moving on this one. How about Anastasia?
Tompa tukche chengi dulce due lo
Doje.
chok dulce lo chok meng girimpa sin ditar kansaki dagla simpa lo peche tudang por kansak dan kya tupe zeyo ki tompar tempadang.
Nice. Good job. And I like how you pronounce Kangsak. It's not a gong. It's not a g sound. It's a K. It's almost like a guttural K. Kangsak. It's a low tone. All right. So somebody taught Tunpa, the teaching, right? The teacher, right? Who possesses Chen, great compassion. All right. So the teacher who has great compassion. So through his great compassion to find the best ways to help all of his students of varying capacities, chokmen, high and low. Okay. This is the cool thing that Tibetan does is it'll put opposites together, right? So basically to help all of his students of some of them are high, some of them are lower. Okay. All of his students whose capacity low, like intelligent. You can translate this as intelligence, but I call it spiritual intelligence, like spiritual capacity, right? Someone who has high spiritual capacity is someone who can collect good karma and purify negative karma. That's high spiritual capacity. It's nothing to do with IQ. Well, it might, but spiritual intelligence, and there's emotional intelligence and mental intelligence and embodied intelligence. There's lots of different kinds of intelligences. We're talking about spiritual, right? So he defined the best ways to help all of the students of various levels and capacities, chokmen, gi rimpa, right? Rimpa means the path, right? The Buddha taught first, Dangpur, right? And he basically taught first that the self Kangsak is empty of existing substantially. All right. Seiya. Right. In a self-standing way. So it's empty of existing substantially in a self-standing way. Okay. And we'll talk about it next time. But the Buddha first taught in the first turning of the wheel that the self, the person, is empty of something which exists substantially by itself in a self-standing way. And he taught this level of understanding just so people could start to simply stop believing Shenpa Do, excuse me. I think. Now I'm looking at my pronunciation chart here. Hold on. Shenpa Sok. It's actually more of a sa sound. Just to be able to stop believing in a person who has any self nature. Okay. So the Buddha presented in his compassionate ways to say, look, the self is not something which is self-standing. It doesn't exist on its own from its own side. And he did it just so people would stop believing in a self-nature to the person. Right? It's not really talking about emptiness in the highest way. He's not talking about it, but he's just basically saying, hey, look, let's question this. It doesn't exist by itself. Which then answers the question that I had at the very beginning of this chapter. And the question was, why does the Buddha start by, or why does Pabonka say, first we're going to investigate the emptiness of the person, and then we're going to investigate the emptiness of things? Because even though we teach the pen first, typically, because the Buddha in the first turning of the wheel taught us that the self is not self-standing. And that's the method that the Buddha used. One of the methods the Buddha used. So Pabonka is mirroring that by saying, look, you're not self-standing all by yourself. And he's basically saying you need some kind of doubt in that to be able to move forward on the path. What does that mean? Stay tuned until next time. Thank you all for joining. Very much excited about this. We're going to have class next Monday. Monday will be the last class of Lam Rim for this term. And then we'll also finish up ACI 13 on Monday with class 10. And the following week on February 11th, we're going to have our review class for ACI 13, which all of you should come to. You don't have to have gone to ACI 13 to go to it, because we're going to talk about the deep relationship of dependent origination and emptiness, and how to use mental images to be able to see emptiness directly through a process of dependence. And we're going to go super deep into it. Yay. Thank you, everybody. See you soon. Hope you all oh, hi, Gina. It's good to see you. Keep taking care of my house, please. Thank you. And yeah, let's say goodbye to each other. Thank you, translators. I'm sorry that was a hard class, I'm sure. Thank you, all of the tech people, for recording.
Thank you so much.
So say goodbye to each other, and we'll see you on Monday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Please
Um,
stay.
Gracias.
Thank you so much. See you soon.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.